This is a session I have been wanting to have as part of the program for at least 2 years now, and frankly had trouble finding somebody to speak about it who was that experienced and that knowledgeable about it. So I finally decided I would partly take responsibility for educating myself about Bitcoin as a fundraising vehicle or giving option, and then had the good luck to connect with Susan Schroeder, who's joining us from Exeter, New Hampshire, and is with the Best Friends Animal Society, who has actually lived through several different methods of receiving cryptocurrency at her institution. And so she is going to compensate for my lack of knowledge on this subject. And she's kind of one-stop shopping for what your options are about how you equip yourself to receive cryptocurrency at your institution. Let me stop for a moment and say, Susan, thank you for joining us, and say hi to everybody and tell us a little bit about Best Friends Animal Society.
Sure. Thanks so much for the nice introduction. And we've certainly, over the last year, learned a lot about cryptocurrency, but probably the tip of the iceberg in terms of what information is out there to be learned. But we're all on this journey together. I work for Best Friends Animal Society. We are, as our name describes, a leader in the animal welfare movement, and our sole focus is to end the killing of pets in shelters across the country. And we have the largest animal sanctuary for domesticated animals in Kanab, Utah, a place where everyone should visit, right near Zion and the North Rim of Grand Canyon. And it is home to about 1,600 animals. So please check us out, bestfriends.org.
I didn't even know it was headquartered there. I was right next door a couple of months ago at Bryce Canyon, and I didn't know I was within visiting distance.
You're going to have to go back now, Bob.
But you spend all your time in New Hampshire, though, right?
I do, yeah. I work remotely. We have a couple hundred folks in Kanab, and the rest of the team is across the country, probably pick a state and we might be able to find you a Best Friends person. We've got about 6 of us up here in New Hampshire.
It sounds like an awfully good cause, I'll tell you that. And anybody listening in as we go, I think the audio is pretty good for anybody who wants to turn on their microphone, as long as you're not listening with speakers yourself. That seems to cause a lot of an echo. Otherwise, put your questions, comments in the chat. And like I said, Susan is my safety net. If I say anything that's not accurate to the best of her knowledge, she has free reign to correct me immediately.
I don't think, I won't be shy about that, Bob.
Good. Okay, and there she is. We've already introduced her, so we'll move on. And like I said, I assume no knowledge that I had before I started constructing this session. This was really my introduction 101 to what are we talking about when we would say this. So we'll define some terms, and then we'll talk about what would seem like your options for adding this to your gift receiving bag of tricks. So let's start with, what is cryptocurrency? A form of digital asset based on a network distributed across a large number of computers. This decentralized structure allows them to exist outside the control of governments and central authorities. And maybe the best analogy that I heard in reading up on this is when you go to Chuck E. Cheese or any other place that has tokens, and the tokens are valuable right in a certain situation. If you're at Chuck E. Cheese at the prize counter wanting to redeem your tokens. And so they're not cash, they're not useful in all settings, but for this defined sort of circumstance, cryptocurrency has value, but not in a cash way. Susan, what score do I get for saying that correctly?
That's the first time I've heard that analogy, and it's definitely an interesting one. I would say, I would describe cryptocurrency exactly as you have here. It is a digital currency, and I really would think about it as any other form of currency. There were hundreds of currencies in the world in different countries, and the difference with cryptocurrency is it is global, and now there are tens of thousands of them in existence. So you can use it wherever it's accepted. Bitcoin is actually an official currency in El Salvador, and there are other places where it's being accepted as a currency. So just think of it honestly like another form of cash.
Okay, let's see how I do with this slide. The advantages are cheaper and faster money transfers, decentralized systems, sort of what you said, that do not collapse at a single point. The disadvantages are their price volatility. I'll show you some headlines from recent weeks about all that. The high energy consumption to manage all this that has become, I think, sort of a point. Susan, you need to tell me if you know about sort of the environmentally friendly cryptocurrencies that are being promoted now. And I think I'm saying this correctly. What really spurred some of their growth was people, investors, who were looking for an alternate kind of investment as kind of a hedge against cash and sort of the government-specific currencies that Susan talked about. The downside, obviously, if you've been watching cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin over the last couple of weeks, is that they aren't necessarily a hedge, and they can take some pretty precipitous falls. We're going to be talking about, I think, in a better case scenario where a donor has an appreciated value of cryptocurrency and why that's useful to us. Susan, did I say all that right?
Yes, you got that exactly right. And certainly the disadvantages, there's a lot of complexity in it. Ethereum and the Ethereum blockchain is less energy intensive for mining, and they've done a lot of breakthrough adjustments to continue to reduce the issue related to energy. The Bitcoin, the way that is mined, and essentially mining is that decentralized peer-to-peer way of validating the transactions, making sure that essentially that money doesn't get double spent. That is very intensive with energy consumption, and you need a lot of computing power to validate each transaction, and that's why it has such a high energy cost. So yeah, those issues are real and they exist, and because it is the Wild West out there, there has been a lot of criminal activity, theft, and so forth. Yeah, you got that exactly right.
I have a diagram coming up that you'll love, but for me, one of the takeaways on this slide is if you ask yourself, why are people even into this in the first place? It's because they're looking to diversify a portfolio, I think, in general. And, recent headlines have demonstrated that's kind of a mixed success. Okay, so that's the definition of cryptocurrency, and we'll talk about how there can be a lot of different kinds of cryptocurrencies in a little bit. If you hear the phrase blockchain, which Susan was just alluding to, and that graphic there is kind of a visualization of what she was talking about. So cryptocurrencies function and get traded because they rest on this network of computers, blockchain technology. And it's this setup that helps to ensure some security that nobody can really hijack the whole thing. A set of connected blocks or an online ledger. Each block contains a set of transactions independently verified by each member of the network. Every new block generated must be verified by each node of the blockchain before being confirmed, making it almost impossible to forge transaction history. So it's the platform on which all this cryptocurrency trading occurs. So if you hear blockchain as a phrase, that's what that means. That was the attempt to construct this in a way that would provide some level of security. But Susan, am I hearing you say that there's some flaws in this from a security point of view anyway?
The blockchain technology isn't necessarily the flaw. It's actually the people's wallets and passwords. And also when you make a transaction, so if I have a coin in my wallet and I plan to give it to you, Bob, but somebody, when you're sending me the address of your wallet, somebody goes in and changes that address to theirs, it will go to theirs and I'll never get it back. You'll never get it. And I will never know who actually has it because they'll close that wallet and move it somewhere else. So there's just a lot of potential, but it's not, the blockchain itself, from my understanding, is a solid infrastructure. It is what happens with the people who are involved in making the transactions. That's my take on it. But again, not a super expert, just still learning.
The people are the weakest link.
It's always the people.
Uh, Okay, and if we're starting to confuse you with wallets and coins, we'll explain that in a second too, and how to keep your institution from having their cryptocurrency stolen from your operation. Okay, so we talked about cryptocurrency. We talked about the blockchain platform that it rests on. Then Bitcoin gets thrown around a lot as well, and Bitcoin has kind of been, the trading type of cryptocurrency that people have been looking at that's been making all the headlines in recent weeks with these really big falls. So Bitcoin is one of what can be many kinds of cryptocurrency. There's gosh, Susan, hundreds or thousands of people selling cryptocurrency now, of which Bitcoin is the biggest, which I'll show you in a chart in a minute. Yeah, I've got the graphic right there, 19,000 cryptocurrencies in existence. Financial media eagerly covers each new dramatic high and stomach-churning decline, making Bitcoin an inescapable part of the landscape. So Susan will talk about this, but part of the decision for your institution is what cryptocurrencies you accept. Some it can be a big long list, some it could just be a couple. We'll get into that in a minute. But so here's the graphic with some of the headlines that you may have been seeing lately, that for everybody who bought Bitcoin sort of assuming it was just going to go up, 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 and for a good while it did, and who also thought it would go the opposite direction of the stock market or other assets, it's been sort of proven that it's not a perfect solution to all this. Susan, anything you want to add to my headlines here?
No, these are great. I'm gonna steal these from you.
Okay, deal. And then I put the gold bar analogy too. Susan, tell me if you like this or not, that gold only has value because the world has agreed that gold has value. I'm oversimplifying it, but that's what sort of makes keeping gold bars, a type of investment itself. And so I think cryptocurrency is similar, that because at the moment there's a lot of acceptance of the value of cryptocurrencies, even though it's rising and falling, that it's almost sort of like digital gold bars in a way. Susan, will you allow that analogy?
Absolutely. Yeah, makes sense to me.
Okay, thank you. And like I said, Bitcoin, you can see on this chart, is the biggest of the different types of cryptocurrency. But when we say your institution can receive cryptocurrency, it could be several of the things on this list. As I looked at different websites, some not-for-profits accept sort of the top 3 or 4 on this list. Some have more comprehensive choices of what cryptocurrency you can donate, and that sort of gets into the solutions that Susan has about what your choices are for doing this. Have we lost anybody yet? So we've got the cryptocurrency, we've got the blockchain, we've got types of cryptocurrencies, one of which is Bitcoin, okay? Let's put in a word from the IRS here, which is why I think this is also something that isn't gonna go away necessarily. At the moment, cryptocurrency is treated like any appreciating asset that somebody donates to your organization. So some of you who've been doing this a while, like me, know that if a donor gives appreciated stock to your institution, they don't have to pay any capital gains tax on the increase in value of that stock. So essentially they get a bigger deduction and a bigger bang for their buck because they don't pay any penalty because they donated it to the organization. Cryptocurrency is essentially the same tax treatment, that there's no gains tax or anything if the value of your cryptocurrency has gone up. Obviously that assumes it's gone up, like the headlines we just looked at, but I think that is what has sent a lot of donors who have that kind of portfolio and that kind of appreciated cryptocurrency, seeing if they can't get an extra sort of stretching of the value of their donation because they don't have to pay any tax on the gain. Susan, did I say that right?
Yes, flawless.
Flawless. Good. I've regained my head. Okay. Then with all that context, I think, we then arrive at the intersection of, okay, what do institutions do about it? And like I said, Susan has actually sort of experimented and tried several solutions to this, which she can talk about better than me, but including sort of figuring this out yourself in-house, and then what other vendor or third-party solutions might be out there too. So Susan, thank you for being my validator of all that information up to this point. And folks are going to appreciate you, and tell us a little bit about your journey with receiving cryptocurrency at Best Friends.
Awesome. So before I dig in, I have an important question for the folks on Zoom and the folks in the room, because we're always asking this question at Best Friends. Are you dog people or cat people, or both? So just write in the chat, dog, cat, both. And if you're in the room, right hand for dog, left hand for a cat, or both hands for both.
We've got a good mix of all, I think.
We got the lots of dogs in the chat. Awesome. I know.
If you're not opposed, would you turn your camera on?
Oh my gosh, sorry, I didn't realize I had it turned off. Yeah, you got it.
We can see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, lots of dog people, cat people, and we always joke about how we live in such a divided nation, but people can always come together when it's about saving animals, and especially those dogs and cats in shelters. So yeah, our crypto journey, my goodness. So we started, of course we were paying attention to it for a while, and everybody was sort of, it's nobody's job to pay too much attention to it. But of course our CEO asked the question in a meeting, what do we need to know in order to decide whether to accept cryptocurrency or not? So I oversee our prospect management research team, and we volunteered to take that on as a project to do a little bit of research because we were excited and thought it would be really fun. So similar to all of you attending this session, one of the first things we did was I actually attended a NEDRA session, the New England Association of Prospect Research Professionals, and learned a little bit about cryptocurrency, and then actually reached out to an organization that I had a contact at that was accepting crypto, and that's Charity Water, and talked to them and learned all about their experience and how they got into it and so forth. So that was the journey we started. And we also talked to some of our donors who we had heard through the grapevine had interests in this field as well. So the very beginning, we put a lot of information together, and I'm happy to share out some slides after this with Bob to distribute to folks who are on the call. We did a lot of internal discussion because internally we wanted to make sure that everyone within the organization, as well as our supporters, would be comfortable with us moving forward. There's certainly the challenges that Bob described earlier with criminals in the space, with the energy consumption concerns. There were certainly challenges that we wanted to explore and understand. And really, we determined that the value of creating a process by which we could accept cryptocurrency had greater benefits than sort of the weight of the concerns that we had about it, because we wanted to put some measures in place to try to mitigate those risks. Essentially, our argument for why we decided to accept cryptocurrency is very similar to why we would accept any currency, which is more money, more mission. And then we also did a lot of discussion and decision making around, if we do accept cryptocurrency, what's our policy? What do we do with it once we have it? Do we hold it as an investment? All of that. We determined, we're new to this. We are just going to immediately convert the cryptocurrency to cash. So it would be immediately the money to mission, whatever day it comes in, we want it to go and become cash, US dollar, as quickly as possible, and put into our program work. So any questions on any of that so far? I'm happy to take questions as I go, or I can monologue.
I'll keep one eye on the chat and one eye on the room, and yeah, anybody's welcome to speak up.
Perfect. So the first thing we did is what we would say we learned the hard way was pretty challenging. One of our concerns with third parties and some of the processes for accepting currency was the fees involved. There are fees when you work with any third party, pretty much for anything that you do with a third party. And we thought, you know what, we're going to have so few donations at the beginning. Let's not create a system where we're going to be incurring fees. We want to try to keep it fee minimal. And that was advice we've gotten from a couple of our donors. So we set about and created our own wallet. We created a Best Friends wallet with a wallet address, so that we could share that wallet address with anyone who came forward and wanted to donate. And then we set all of that up. And what we found is, because we weren't having daily cryptocurrency donations, the person whose job it was to check to see if anything came in for the wallet, it was just adding something to their day every day to check that. With 99.9% of the time, there was nothing received there. So it just became like almost a burden on our colleague in our finance team who had this as part of their, other duties as assigned on their job description. So we determined that that was just, didn't feel fair. It wasn't very productive. We did actually have a couple of gifts come in from some of those donors we've been engaging with. But then we decided to look a little broader and moved forward. We looked at a lot of different platforms. We chose Giving Block because that was our finance team really just loved working in the conversation and engagement we had with them. So we gave the finance team the opportunity to make that decision, and they chose Giving Block. There are a lot of others. There's Freewill, there's NGiven. There's quite a number of third-party folks out there. Giving Block was very turnkey for us. They gave us a widget for our website. It just pops up. It's very easy. They accept a large variety of currencies, not every currency, but a large variety. And certainly the big ones: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dogecoin. Interestingly enough, they were not able to accept baby Doge. I don't know if you see all of these online, but the meme currencies, which are just like cute little dogs and all kinds of cute, adorable, like there's just a lot of meme coins. Anyway, baby Doge is this cute little Shiba Inu puppy that is also a coin, and that is one of our supporters wanted to donate a significant amount, actually $100,000 worth of baby Dogecoin. So the Giving Block wasn't accepting baby Doge at the time. So then this led to what I think was our greatest discovery, and now everyone here will discover this as well. There is actually a donor advised fund. There's a number of donor advised funds in the space, but the one that we worked with is a nonprofit organization. It's called endowment.org, but it's actually spelled, and I'll put it in the chat in a minute. It's ENDAOMENT.org. It's a nonprofit organization that's goal and mission is to generate and create opportunities for crypto holders to get to select charities and be more charitable and give charitable contributions. So the folks at Endowment that I worked with, they agreed to basically, they have their whole regular system where you can donate through their process, but they'll also provide an over-the-counter service. And they facilitated this baby Doge donation to us, which they've made a couple of donations since then. And the first gift was 100,000 of baby Dogecoin when it was converted. So strongly recommend, if you have time, to look at endowment.org. Essentially the way they're set up is they can accept just about every currency, but also they can accept currency for any US nonprofit with an EIN number. So you literally can just go in, find your organization on their website, and you can just with a few clicks sign up with them. There's no cost associated with signing up, and any of your donors can donate through the donor advised fund, recognizing it is a donor advised fund. So in terms of following all the same donor advised fund gift rules, you can't give them free tickets for your gala or give them free tangible things and so forth, same as any regular donor advised fund gift.
Susan,
yeah.
I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about when you say wallet. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so wallet, because it's a digital currency, essentially individuals and organizations, but it's more so geared towards individuals, can set up their own wallet. We set ours up through a group called Coinbase. Again, there are other wallets out there. Coinbase is pretty much, it's one of the biggest. I think it may have gone public. And we set up our wallet. So to set up a wallet, that is essentially an exchange. It's your exchange. So you can take US dollars and purchase any of the cryptocurrencies. And then once you've purchased them, they sit in your wallet, and then you can spend them. You can hold on to them and wait for them to gain value. It's just basically almost like your bank account for crypto, but you can receive, you can convert, you can spend, all the things you would do with regular money. You just hold it in your wallet. And
but you have to sort of pick an account provider to open a wallet account, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's probably true whether you're using doing this yourself or with blockchain. Do you need a wallet? I think you do, don't you?
So with Giving Block, so that's one of the easy turnkey pieces with both Giving Block and endowment.org. All you need is your regular bank account because they do the transaction for you. So Giving Block, if somebody donates through Giving Block, they'll subtract the fees, convert the currency to cash, to US dollar coin, and then they will wire the funds into your bank account. Same thing with endowment. If you set yourself up with endowment and you share with your donor that they can make their gift through that channel, their fees are significantly lower. As I say, they're a nonprofit, and Giving Block is a for-profit. So the endowment fees tend to be a little bit lower. The fees are somewhat based on the time and the effort of converting the currency. Like the fees are slightly different. If you made a gift this morning and you made one this afternoon, there might be slight variation in fees, but the fees are much lower. And the same thing, they just turn it into cash and they wire it to your account, and they send you an email saying, hey, we just transferred whatever information they have that they can share, X amount of, this was how much currency, this is how it converted, and the whole breakdown. And because exactly this blockchain piece, like they are transparent about all of the transaction and how it was processed. It's all sort of visual, so you can see, you see the name, you see the numbers associated with the wallet, and you only, I think one of the downsides of crypto is you only know the donor should they choose to tell you who they are. There's anonymity there, essentially, because it's being transferred. And that's why, again, there's a lot of criminal activity in terms of crypto, because there's an anonymity there, and you may not know who is making the gift unless they, of course, tell you.
Yeah. So I guess if you wanted to drive this bus yourself, you would find yourself a wallet account provider. You would need to then inform interested donors of your wallet ID or your wallet address, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the transfer.
Yep.
And then the institution kind of has to decide also whether it keeps the cryptocurrency, if it automatically, I mean, like when people donate stocks, right? And a lot of institutions just will automatically sell them for whatever the value is at that moment. I bet a lot of places are still thinking through sort of their policies for these kind of things, aren't they?
Absolutely. And I'll give you the example of Charity Water. They really started off with Bitcoin. Someone on their board actually was involved in creating the Gemini blockchain, and the Gemini platform is what Bitcoin has sort of used as its technology. So they started with Bitcoin and this platform, and essentially the true believers in Bitcoin really are looking at this. They want to keep currency in play and are not as enthusiastic about it being converted into cash. So they do have the opportunity for donors to give into an investment fund where they're committed to holding that currency for at least 5 years. And that is sort of to satisfy that type of donor that is also very invested in this coin and the future of this coin. So essentially, you know, that's a decision at the senior levels. We determined we have a goal to end the killing of shelter pets by 2025. We've only got 3 years to go. So if anyone gives us cash, our currency, we just turn it into cash and need to use that right away so we can achieve that goal. But I think, you know, larger institutions potentially may want to explore and consider, is this something to hold as an investment or something to invest in potentially? And that's, I wouldn't make any recommendations on any of that. I like they put the most the Irish risk averse person on the hot seat for talking about
probably not a bad thing. So okay, and if you decide you don't want to drive that bus, then really you're just making a decision about a third party that is sort of the flow through for that. And I've got a slide up that shows some of the ones I learned about putting this talk together. And Give Campus is actually a sponsor at this conference. And
oh, wonderful.
Is a platform that offers a variety of fundraising tools online, and now has really gotten into alternate payments options like Venmo and cryptocurrency. And so whether you do sort of one-stop shopping like that, or just get a single service provider for facilitating crypto donations, there's choices out there if you don't want to get any more expert on all the nuance of all this, right?
Yeah, and I would definitely recommend talking to as many as possible, because that's where you just learn more. I mean, these folks are experts in the field, and just every opportunity to talk to someone is an opportunity to learn something new.
I can't believe there's that many people in America who've now already tried so many different solutions to this. Where did you finally arrive?
We ended up with Giving Block.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's a fee, you know, but they're facilitating this for you on an occasional basis, right? So
yeah,
we're familiar with fee for service providers in our line of work. But,
yeah,
but after sort of trying on a couple of different cryptocurrency hats, that's what you think is the best solution for you guys.
Yeah, and it was really our finance team. And I mean, I'll be completely transparent with everybody in this group. The Giving Block has, it's a for-profit company with a very good marketing budget, and they did a fantastic job of convincing our team that they were the ones we should work with. So I think it is worth, you know, there's new folks jumping into the field, and it's worth sort of looking broadly, but I have zero complaints about Giving Block, their functionality, their customer service, their resources. Actually just spending half a day on their website is a gold mine of information. So they do a fantastic job, but I would in no way like say they're the only ones, or you shouldn't consider different features that others might offer.
A couple of questions in the chat, and anybody here who wants to add anything too. What's the typical conversion rate? Like 1 Bitcoin equals $1, or does that vary based on the market? It varies widely, doesn't it? In fact, anything,
oh my gosh, it varies widely. So Bitcoin, I think at its peak, 1 Bitcoin, I think was worth $69,000 at one point. There were so many swings. Like I remember when we were just early talking about it, December 2021, it went from 6,900 up to 20,000, back down to 7,000. Like the swings of its value were crazy. Currently, it's about at a third of its highest value. So I can't remember what the rate is, but it's still worth in the tens of thousands. Typically, donors hold or donate a portion of a Bitcoin. So they're not even necessarily looking at them as coins. They're going, oh, I want to make and I think in the donors I've worked with, in their minds, they're like, I'm going to make a $10,000 gift using Bitcoin, and they'll use a percentage of a Bitcoin in order to make that transaction. So yeah, that's the crazy part, is the volatility in this market. It's not going to steady out, I don't think, for a long time.
Yeah, so know what you're getting into. But, you know, isn't it also fair to say you're really responding to donor interest in giving this way? It's not like you went looking to do this, right?
Yeah, I think our original, well, I mean, we want, as an organization, we want to be viewed as being at the forefront of technology and innovation. We have a lot of tech and innovation projects to work with shelters across the country, trying to improve efficiency and get more resources where they're needed. So I think that was part of our incentive, is like, this is the forefront of technology and innovation, and we should be a part of that. But from the development fundraising side, I think our real thought was, we have donors who currently give to us who may be holding these assets, and in the same way as we would think of stock, the tax incentive for making stock gifts and for making gifts of cryptocurrency are very significant, and the donor could have the capacity to make a much larger gift by leveraging those assets as opposed to giving cash. So we just wanted to provide that for them as yet another way they can make their wishes come true in terms of supporting the good work that the organization is doing.
We got a question about if there's a tax liability for the organization because of that appreciated value, but if you're using Giving Block, then you're not even really owning the crypto, are you?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and yeah, I think that converting it immediately to cash prevents any concerns because it doesn't appreciate value in that model. For the in terms of the responsibility on gift value, so we are treating it, and the IRS sort of recognizes it as this. They're still legislating around it, or planning to. Excuse me. Essentially, the gift value is the responsibility of the donor. The donor is the one who determines whether or not how they want to leverage that in their tax piece. And it is a requirement that if for gifts over 5,000, the donor is supposed to have a third-party validator of the gift value. And I can share a slide with you, Bob, to share it to the group just on what we learned around gift value. But essentially, we acknowledge, like we do stock, we say thank you for your 50 shares of Verizon. We say thank you for your 0.16725 piece of Bitcoin.
That's
So yeah.
something John Taylor always taught me, is don't quote any dollar value of any in-kind gift. It's like an art appraisal, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the gift value is determined, and like there's not a universally agreed way. It's like, the price at the time of the contribution, a weighted average. Like there's different models of valuing it, and there's not one that's legislated as such, but it is the donor responsibility to determine the gift value.
And so for people working with a third party, so we'll use Giving Block as the example. If I've got my cryptocurrency, I want to donate it to you, so I can go to your giving page, and there's some integration with Giving Block, or am I taken to a Giving Block site?
Yeah, no, there's a widget on the site, so you can do it all on our donate page. It's bestfriends.org/crypto. You can see the little Giving Block icon once you start clicking around in there. You have to have a wallet to make the gift. So like if you try to do it and you don't have a crypto wallet to donate from, you might not be able to click through all the clicks to see the functionality, but it does make it, it's so easy. It's just like click a few buttons and your gift is made. You can also go to the Giving Block site and donate through there, but it's the widget makes it super easy to have that live and active on our site.
And so the donor needs to have their wallet, and then has to, I think, tell you which crypto they're donating, type of crypto, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering if you could go back to those early conversations about adoption, and particularly as it relates to the environmental factors, how your organization worked through that and addressed everybody's concerns.
Yeah, was there any sort of internal waters you had to navigate to who had to get on board for this to say, yeah, let's do it?
Yeah, so it actually was yeah, senior leadership. It was discussed at the board level, and we do have a number of our senior leaders who are former Nature Conservancy execs. So there was a big conversation around that. I think the crypto industry's push towards becoming more environmentally friendly, and actually we have Bitcoin donors, but the majority of ours are these meme coin relationships. So including, and we can, I don't know if we have time to talk about NFTs, but we're doing some stuff with NFTs as well, non-fungible tokens. So we definitely had lengthy conversations, and I think the what won out was we don't want to prevent any donor from contributing to our mission. And if this is an opportunity to add incremental resources to our organization, there was a comfort level in moving that forward.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will look after, and again, I keep plugging Endowment, but just because I personally had such a great experience with them, but they have a Q&A. Their website's not super user-friendly, but they do have a Q&A, and I think they do address some of the environmental concern language in one of their resources. I can go back and try to find that.
Okay. Another question in the room.
Yeah, Susan, is there any time that you had a donation where, so we had someone that donated through the crypto through Giving Block is who we used, and they were going to be on a committee, leadership committee in one of our business school. So the threshold was $5,000, but with the fee, they were about $120 short on that. Is there anything that you have that you've experienced that way, where they need to be at a certain level, and because of fees or anything, they came in low? I know $120, but on larger transactions, it'll be more. Is there any experience you have there, or any suggestions you have?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. We did have a donor that was getting a little naming recognition for a gift, and it's same thing. Because of fees, it came in a little bit under. We just, ignored that it was under and gave him the recognition as if it was at that level, and just put a note in the record to treat him as a donor at that level. So yeah, that can be a little bit tricky. I mean, feasibly, you could be transparent with the donor and share that, hey, when this came through, it actually converted to, whatever, $4,900. Would you, can we apply the next $100 gift that you make towards this commitment? Maybe something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would guess most charities would like to avoid the conversation that such a shame you're so close, but there's a fee.
No, I think you would say, we are delighted to give you this, but hope it's okay if we apply the next gift you make towards this.
Yeah.
To round it up.
Susan, this is great. We need to have you back to give us a briefing update, I think, next time with.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
As policies start to sort of define themselves, and products start to define themselves, and donors start to identify themselves, and things like what do you do about the fee starts to get best practiced. Any other questions? I'm looking at the chat room too. Anybody else? Here's one. Are there any disadvantages to setting up multiple methods of accepting crypto, like using Giving Block for most gifts, but direct bigger gifts through the donor advised fund to save on fees? Interesting. We're already figuring out how to manipulate our handling of crypto.
I love whoever asked that question, because yeah, you're exactly right, and that's what we've done as well. So we have Giving Block, really viewing Giving Block as like that mass marketing. If we were to tweet about it or put something out there, we would share the Giving Block widget, so easy to use for the general public. But for partnerships that we have, as I said, we have the Baby Doge relationship. We're also working with a non-fungible token community. So the rise of NFT communities online is a pretty mind-blowing space that we just have dipped our toes in. We actually have this group called the APC team. They do memes of pit bulls, of art, essentially digital art, and each unique piece of art can be given to, can be purchased using primarily cryptocurrency or US dollars. And those holders are generating funds for our organization in crypto, and we direct them to endowment.org. They made a gift right before the holidays of $283,000 that was generated through their community of NFT holders that, and the fees were really low compared to if it had gone through the giving block. So yes, it doesn't hurt to have more than one. And I think maybe Save the Children, something I guess if you just Google charities that accept crypto and look at their website, some of them have several on there and have relationships with several, so that people have options to donate any way they like.
So that's a good kind of 2.0 question, isn't it?
Yeah, excellent question.
Okay, Susan, this is really terrific. I'm so fortunate that we tracked you down, and you really are one-stop shopping for solutions to handle this, having lived through all of it yourself.
Well, I'm happy to share our experience. I'm sure we will continue to learn more as we go along, but for now, we've generated about 800,000 since we launched. We'd intended to launch last October. Because of the baby Doge thing, we ended up launching when we were not ready in August. I think having a donor that wants to donate crypto is the quickest way to get this approved internally. Because things got fast-tracked. So yeah, I think it's a great service to our donors, and it's not going away from everything I've read. So it's already had an impact on our organization, and hopefully if it makes sense for yours. I would say if you're Nature Conservancy or environmental organization, probably a lot more caution around moving this forward, but for the vast majority of nonprofits, I think it's a good opportunity to explore.
This has been a useful way to start the day in Chicago, so thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. This was fun, and thank you for inviting me. It was nice to meet all of you.